It's a question you'd never say out loud, at the gym, at work, even to a friend. But it's been there for years whispering, "Am I normal? Am I normal?" I'm Dr. Maya Kapoor, and today we're stepping into one of the most common, most private, and yet most misunderstood questions in men's health: penis size. It's a subject wrapped in silence, fed by myths, and loaded with insecurity. And if you've ever felt a shadow of doubt about yourself, you're not alone. Millions of men carry that same quiet worry, often in complete isolation. Let's set the stage. From the time you were a teenager, the world started handing you distorted images of what a man should look like. Maybe you were 13 or 14 when you stumbled across your first adult video. You didn't realize that what you were seeing wasn't biology, it was performance. The man on screen wasn't chosen at random. He was cast, lit, filmed, and sometimes digitally enhanced to look larger than life. But that image burned itself into your memory. Add to that the cruel humor in locker rooms, the offhand comments, the silent comparisons. Before long, a perfectly average body begins to feel like it's not enough. Here's what science says. A massive study of over 15,000 men found that most fall between 4 and 6 inches erect. That's not broken, that's human. And what about women? When surveyed, only 5 to 10% said that size was very important in a partner. For most, it ranked far below qualities like confidence, connection, and presence. So where does the obsession come from? It comes from silence, because no one ever sat you down in health class and told you the facts. No doctor in your teenage years explained what normal really looks like. Instead, we were handed myths, bravado, and comparisons that had nothing to do with real life. Let's change that today. First, let's clear up something simple but surprisingly overlooked. Most men measure themselves incorrectly. Think of it like stepping on a broken scale. It doesn't matter how many times you check, you'll never get the truth. Some press the ruler too far forward. Some start at the skin instead of the pubic bone. Some measure from underneath, adding length that isn't actually part of the anatomy. Others don't measure at full erection, or they compare themselves when they're anxious, cold, or only partly aroused. And then they wonder why their number feels so different from what they see online. In medical research, we use something called the flaccid stretched length. It's one of the most accurate ways to reflect true erect size. Here's how you can do it at home correctly. Stand upright. Use a ruler or a soft measuring tape. Place it on top of the penis, starting at the pubic bone, not the skin, but pressing gently into the fat pad to get a true baseline. While flaccid, gently stretch the penis forward to its full natural length, firmly but never forcefully. Measure from base to tip. That number is your flaccid stretched length, and it almost always mirrors your erect size. For girth, also called circumference, take a soft measuring tape or a piece of string. Wrap it around the thickest part of the shaft. Mark where it overlaps and measure that length. That's your girth. Simple, precise, and far more accurate than the guesses most men have lived with for years. Now, what does the research say about the actual numbers? A landmark study in 2015, the largest of its kind, analyzed nearly 15,000 men worldwide. The average erect length was 13.2 centimeters, just over 5 inches. The average erect girth was 11.5 centimeters, about 4.5 inches around. Not 8 inches, not 10, not what you saw in that film. 5. That's the truth. And here's the most important part. 90 to 95% of men fall between 10 and 16 centimeters. That's 4 to just over 6 inches. If you fall within that range, you are by every medical standard completely normal. What about the extremes? At one end, we have the medical definition of a micropenis, less than 7.5 centimeters or about 3 inches when stretched or erect. At the other end, a macropenis, anything over 24 centimeters, about 9.5 inches. Both are extremely rare genetic outliers, not benchmarks of masculinity, not goals to chase. Yet most men don't fall into these categories. They just believe they do, because perception has been shaped by fantasy instead of reality. And let's not forget the tricks of the trade in adult entertainment. Actors aren't average men. They're chosen for one exaggerated feature, then enhanced with camera angles, lighting, silicone prosthetics, and even digital enlargement. A 2016 investigation by Men's Health magazine revealed that some scenes are literally edited to stretch size digitally. What you see is not biology, it's engineering. But your brain doesn't register the editing, it just sees bigger. And somewhere deep down, you start believing you are smaller. Even worse, many men compare themselves flaccid in a mirror, in a cold room, or under stress. But the penis is incredibly responsive to temperature, anxiety, and blood flow. A chill, a moment of nervousness, can make it shrink by half. Compare that to someone fully aroused under perfect lighting, and of course the difference feels devastating. But that comparison isn't real, it's distortion. And when distortion is repeated over time, it turns into insecurity. Insecurity becomes anxiety, and anxiety spreads into relationships, into performance, into how you carry yourself in everyday life. The most heartbreaking part? None of it is rooted in biology. The size you've been doubting, questioning, and even punishing yourself over was almost certainly normal all along. But because no one told you the truth, you carried that unnecessary weight in silence. Now that we've cleared up the myths and looked at the facts, let's talk about what men often do when insecurity takes over. Some turn to enhancement, convinced it will solve everything. But research shows most of these men were already normal, and nearly 40% remain dissatisfied even after surgery. Worse, the risks are real: scarring, loss of sensation, even deformity. More size doesn't mean more satisfaction. So if the answer isn't surgery, pills, or chasing unrealistic standards, what actually works? How can you feel more confident, more satisfied, and more connected in your own skin? The truth is, the tools that matter aren't found in clinics or magazines. They're simple, science-backed habits that change how you look, how you feel, and how you perform, without risk, without shame. The first tool is reducing fat around the pubic area. As abdominal fat builds, the penis doesn't actually shrink, but it appears shorter. It gets buried in the fat pad. Losing even 2 inches off your waist can make up to 1.5 centimeters of visible length reappear. Think about that. Something you thought you lost wasn't gone at all. It was just hidden, waiting to be revealed with healthier choices. I once had a patient named David in his late 60s. He walked into my office convinced he was shrinking. We worked on his diet, trimming down his waistline, and within months he came back laughing. "Doc, I didn't know I had this much left in me." It wasn't magic. It was biology and a bit of self-care. The second tool is improving blood flow. Your penis is not a muscle, it's a vascular organ. Erections are nothing more and nothing less than hydraulics. More blood means more fullness, more firmness, more confidence. That's why circulation is everything. Eat nitrate-rich foods like beets, spinach, and arugula. Add L-citrulline or L-arginine under medical guidance. Stay hydrated. Quit smoking. Every cigarette restricts blood vessels and ages them faster. And yes, do pelvic floor exercises. Men often think Kegels are only for women, but they're just as crucial for men. Those muscles at the base of your pelvis control rigidity, blood flow, and even ejaculation. Strengthening them gives you more control, more staying power, and more satisfaction. The third tool is checking your hormones. Testosterone is the biological fuel that drives libido, mood, energy, and circulation. When it drops, everything feels quieter. Morning erections fade. Tissue becomes less responsive. Desire dims. A full hormone panel, total testosterone, free testosterone, SHBG, and estradiol can reveal where you stand. And if you're low, start with natural steps. Better sleep, heavy lifting, more zinc, less alcohol. If needed, talk to your doctor about supervised medical options. I once treated George, a retired teacher who thought intimacy was gone for good. When we addressed his low testosterone, the change was so profound his wife called me herself, saying, "Thank you for giving me my husband back. Hormones matter. Don't ignore them." The fourth tool may sound simple, but can change everything. Stop comparing. Start connecting. You are not a ruler on a screen. You are not a number on a chart. What creates satisfaction in intimacy is not length, it's presence, confidence, and connection. When you bring your full self to a partner, when you listen, engage, and show up with warmth, that experience becomes unforgettable. No ruler in the world can measure that. The fifth tool is seeking real guidance when you feel overwhelmed. If you're thinking about enhancement because you feel broken, pause. Ask yourself, am I chasing this because my body truly needs it, or because no one ever taught me the truth? If the answer is emotional, talk to a therapist, not a clinic. Body dysmorphia is real, and when we act on it with surgery or dangerous supplements, the damage can be permanent. But when you heal the root, the way you see yourself, you often discover you had what you needed all along. And here's the truth I want every man to hear. The majority of men are within the normal range. That's not a consolation prize. It's reality. You don't need to be exceptional to be worthy. You already are. The question is, can you believe it? I know that belief is hard to build when you've spent a lifetime comparing yourself to illusions. But once you shift your focus from, how do I measure up, to, how do I care for this body I've been given, everything changes. Your performance improves, your confidence grows, your relationships deepen, because what matters most isn't the number on a ruler, it's the man behind it. So, let's bring this full circle. After decades of listening to men whisper their worries, I can tell you this: size anxiety is one of the most common, yet least necessary burdens men carry. It doesn't just sit in your mind, it creeps into every part of life. I've seen Harold, a 64-year-old veteran, avoid dating because he thought he wasn't enough. I've seen Alan, a grandfather in his 70s, pull away from his wife of 40 years, convinced she was secretly disappointed. Both of these men believed their bodies had failed them. Both discovered, through honest conversation and proper measurement, that they were completely normal. What they needed wasn't more inches, it was more truth. Science has been clear all along. Most men are already normal. What matters isn't the ruler, it's how you live inside your own skin. That's not small, that's not broken, that's human. When you stop chasing fantasy and start embracing biology, you reclaim the power you never truly lost. Because confidence doesn't come from numbers, it comes from knowledge, from health, and from connection. But I also know the voices that echo in your head don't disappear overnight. They've been with you since adolescence, fed by images that were never real. That's why I want you to remember this. Perception is not reality. Your body under cold light in a mirror is not the same body your partner sees in warmth and intimacy. No measuring tool can define you. What truly defines a man is presence, how you look at someone, how you hold them, how you show up when it matters most. Now, let's talk about the ripple effect of letting go of size obsession. When you stop fixating on a ruler, you finally have space to focus on health. You start eating for circulation, not comparison. You move your body not to change its shape, but to feel alive. You sleep better, manage stress, and suddenly intimacy feels richer, deeper, more satisfying. Walter, one of my longtime patients, once told me, "Doc, when I stopped worrying about being big enough, I finally felt free enough to be close again." His marriage healed, his confidence soared, and not a single number on his body changed. That's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing bigger, you actually become stronger because your energy returns to where it belongs: connection, vitality, life. And let me be clear, if you're healthy, attentive, and within the average range, you already have everything you need to satisfy a partner. Studies confirm it again and again. Connection and confidence matter far more than inches. What fulfills someone isn't the measurement, it's the man. So the next time you find yourself staring in the mirror, holding that ruler, ask yourself a different question. Not am I enough, but am I caring for myself enough? Am I eating the foods that support my blood flow? Am I moving my body in ways that keep me strong? Am I managing stress so my hormones can thrive? Am I present with the person I love, giving them my full attention? Those are the questions that shape your life, your health, your intimacy, not the number on a piece of plastic. And if you ever feel tempted to chase enhancement, pause and remember, most men who go under the knife were already normal. Many come out still dissatisfied, and some come out permanently harmed. Don't sacrifice your health chasing a ghost. Instead, reclaim what's real, care for your body, honor its design, trust the science, and remind yourself daily, you are never too small. You were simply never told the truth. So here's my closing message. You are not your measurement. You are your mindset. The power lies not in changing your body, but in understanding it, respecting it, and optimizing it. When you shift your focus from insecurity to health, from comparison to connection, everything improves. Your performance, your confidence, your relationships. What's more powerful, being above average on a ruler or being fully present in your body, your mind, and your life? Deep down, you already know the answer. I'm Dr. Maya Kapoor, and I want you to carry this truth with you. You were never broken. You were never lacking. You are already enough. And the moment you stop measuring yourself against illusions, you step into the freedom to live, love, and connect as the man you were always meant to be. If this message spoke to you, leave a question in the comments. We answer them anonymously. Subscribe if you want more truth and less noise. And if this video helped you, share it with a friend. You never know which man in your life is carrying the same silent question. Give him the gift of truth, because at the end of the day, confidence doesn't start with a number. It starts with you.